Great, looks like we are all set to go. So welcome everyone, I'm Heather Tatt and I'm joined here by Adam Lotz and we are on the Citrix DaaS product marketing team. Welcome to What's New with Citrix DaaS and Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops. Today we'll be taking you on a tour through the latest and greatest from Citrix, providing updates on the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops 2209 and 2206 current releases, the enhancements we've made in Citrix DaaS over the past couple of quarters, as well as some forward-looking items as well. We do expect these updates to take about 45 to 50 minutes of the allocated time today. And if you have questions throughout the presentation, please ask them via the Q&A chat window, which is located to the right-hand side of your screen. We'll have experts working on hand to ensure that we can capture all of your questions, and we'll do our best to answer these at the end of the session. Throughout today's presentation, you'll find a number of resources mentioned, and just want to highlight that we will also be providing a summarized one-page handout at the end for you to download. So please be on the lookout for that. Finally, just want to confirm that this webinar is being recorded and will make it available on demand for your reference in the future. There is a lot of great work to showcase, so let's go ahead and jump right in.
Thanks, Heather, and welcome everyone. First, let's start this off with some important recent announcements. It's been about 6 months since our last What's New webinar, and of course, this time around we'll be discussing a snapshot of the improvements we've made to the Citrix DaaS platform over the last few months, as well as what you can expect to see out of the latest releases of virtual apps and desktops on-prem. We just released CVAD 2209 about a month ago, and we've seen solid adoption numbers so far. Of course, in addition to this webinar, we've got lots of information on individual features in our product documentation, and Heather did a great job on the What's New blog, which is available at blogs.citrix.com. And before we start talking about new capabilities, I wanted to make sure you all were aware of an important announcement we made just 2 weeks ago at Microsoft Ignite, and that's our support for the new Microsoft Windows 365 platform. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, Windows 365 is a new offering from Microsoft that delivers cloud PCs hosted in Azure with an emphasis on simplified deployment, management, and flat-rate billing. That's interesting for Citrix customers of all sizes, from mid-market to enterprise deployments. Now, our Citrix HDX Plus for Windows 365 offering builds on top of Win365 by adding our HDX protocol enhancements for the best end-user experience, full Citrix IDP support for your enterprise authentication solutions, improved flexibility in clients and devices, and last but not least, the ability to define Citrix access policies to secure your intellectual property and provide zero trust access to resources. We expect to ship this offering by late this year, or for our existing Citrix DaaS Premium or Premium Plus customers, you'll be able to roll in Cloud PC workloads side by side with your existing DaaS deployments. That's going to be a great way to add new flat-rate cloud capacity to tackle those new use cases for persistent desktop hosting that are popping up everywhere. And we've been working closely with Microsoft for more than a year now on delivering a solution that integrates these Citrix wins with the simplicity of Windows 365 management. If you want to try it out yourself, you can go to now.citrix.com/Windows365 to deploy this in your own environment and get real workloads running right away.
Thanks, Adam. Really exciting to see all the great work we've done there. We're also continually reviewing our portfolio to ensure that it's up to date with the latest technology. So I'm happy to share that Citrix Workspace Browser has now been renamed to Citrix Enterprise Browser. And this new name reflects our vision to be the preferred enterprise browser solution to enable organizations to be able to control access to their corporate apps and data, enhance employee productivity, and improve their overall security posture. As a reminder, Citrix Enterprise Browser is a Chromium-based browser that is embedded with Citrix Workspace app, and it provides that zero-trust, VPN-less access to those web and SaaS apps. So with this brand refresh, we've also released a host of new features and functionality with the Citrix Workspace app for Windows and Mac 2210 release. That I'll cover more in depth later in the presentation, but that really makes the browser a comprehensive solution for enterprises to get work done securely. Also, I'm happy to share that Citrix DaaS and Citrix Cloud Government has achieved moderate status with the U.S. Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program, or FedRAMP. This means they've completed the Readiness Assessment Report and have been reviewed and approved by the FedRAMP Program Management Office and Joint Authorization Board. So basically with this announcement, organizations requiring FedRAMP can now manage and deploy virtual apps and desktops in Citrix Cloud Government with Citrix on Microsoft Azure Government. Customers can run their desktops and applications on premises or in cloud infrastructure as a service. So really great news here. And rounding out the announcement, I wanted to point you to a great resource we have, which is the Citrix Cloud Updates page at updates.cloud.com. This has been highly requested and anticipated and is your go-to place to maybe check on that current status of a feature you're waiting for or to see what's coming soon on the horizon. All right, that's it on the announcements from my end. Adam, you can take it away and share some cloud updates.
Thanks, Heather. We continue to innovate across our cloud partners, and as we move into next year, you'll hear us talking about the support we can offer on your platform or platforms of choice, and how we can optimize resources across them, whether you're running virtual apps and desktops on-prem, or if you've made the move to the DaaS service. And in conversations with our enterprise customers lately, I've heard more and more of them talking about a multi-cloud approach, either choosing a particular vendor for a workload affinity or backend data store, or even for redundancy for geo reasons going across multiple clouds. In any case, we support hybrid cloud deployments of all type with almost any major cloud player you can think of. Let's start off with a look at some of the great work we've done for our Google Cloud customers lately. First of all, if you're on-prem and thinking of moving some workloads to Google, you can pilot that out with a free trial of DaaS Premium in Google Cloud. We've actually extended our cloud control plane to have a fully Google native offering now, and this is a great way to kick the tires on the Google platform with Citrix. We've also added a number of new product enhancements, including image portability support, which simplifies migration and maintenance from on-prem workloads to Google, new PVS support for Google Cloud, and new Google-hosted gateway POPs that will improve performance throughout the US. And as you're rounding up the year and doing budget planning, now you'll be able to transact with Citrix in the Google Cloud Marketplace. So if your company has Google Cloud spending commitments, this is a great time to ping your sales rep and start a discussion around what this means for you. We've already seen that marketplace transactions can simplify budgeting and approvals process for a lot of our customers, and we see a lot of interest in this across enterprises. And as we look at our multi-cloud strategy, one of the things that we do with each vendor is try to optimize workloads for that platform. And we've just rolled out suspend resume support for Google Cloud, letting admins define a policy that on session disconnect, the desktop can quickly go into a suspended state. That's a great way to save cloud consumption costs without having a major user impact. And for our customers on Amazon, we've made some great progress there to increase the scale of AWS instances, now up to 1,500 virtual machines, which of course can support thousands and thousands of users. As part of this, we're batching commands to the platform to optimize the processing of VM starts and deliver the best AWS experience. We've also added other technical enhancements around provisioning to this platform, including support for AWS machine profiles and streamlining our identity disk creation. And of course, we've been busy on the Azure platform as well, where we're constantly working with our Microsoft counterparts to deliver high performance and high security Azure environments. We've expanded our support for Azure AD dynamic security groups, added VM extensions to our new ARM templates, and also enabled trusted launch for ephemeral disks. That last one was a big request from customers in finance and healthcare who are using Azure Cloud more and more. On the provisioning side, for MCS support, you can now use a shared image gallery to publish machines from. So our customers with thousands of VMs can balance those across subscriptions and scale more easily. And to save costs, we've got two new enhancements for Azure. The first is storage tier switching, so that powered off VMs can switch to standard disks when not in use. And we're also enabling hibernation support for idle sessions, which is a welcome enhancement that minimizes resource consumption. And while we're telling our own hybrid story, Microsoft has one as well, and that's coming in the form of Azure Stack HCI. Now, most of our customers are running traditional hardware in their on-prem data centers, but looking out into next year or the year after, I think we're going to see a lot more interest in these HCI clusters, which essentially give you an on-prem environment controlled by Azure tooling. I think this is going to be especially relevant for industries like healthcare, where we see a lot of traditional data center hardware that's coming towards its end of life, but we've still got some resistance to a full move to cloud. Definitely watch this space for more to come. It really blurs the lines of how workloads are hosted, and we'll be there to support this kind of flexibility no matter what your environment looks like. Now that we've got some of the big cloud optimizations out of the way, I'll turn it over to Heather to look at some feature enhancements and optimizations across the virtual apps and desktops and DaaS product sets.
Thanks for that, Adam. I'll kick it off with the image portability service. So for our IT admins, we recognize the importance of reducing the amount of golden image sprawl, especially as you're looking at deploying on different platforms, both on premises and with a public cloud provider. You don't want to be managing a sales win 10 image both on premises and in Google Cloud, and then again in Azure. Because as you do that, the complexity and time involved in managing that goes up exponentially. So with the image portability service, it helps customers migrate workloads from on-prem to cloud and specifically gives you the ability to manage a workload in a single place. So managing an on-prem image, for instance, and then be able to push that out automatically to multiple cloud targets. Now we support migrations or continuous rollouts from on-prem VMware out to Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and AWS targets. And as we continue to add functionality here, we'll support sort of bidirectional operations where you could have an AWS image going to on-prem and back and forth, or an Azure image going up to Google Cloud. Today, we have support for one way. We're targeting the most likely use cases first, but we're continuing to evolve this to make it easier and easier to deploy hybrid cloud environments. It's an excellent solution, and we encourage you to check it out and see how we can fit into your existing workflows and streamline some of your day-to-day tasks. We're also excited about our release of the Adaptive Authentication Service. So Adaptive Authentication is an advanced identity and access management solution that provides secure access to Citrix DaaS. It verifies user identity and implements the right level of authentication security based on factors like location, device status, and end user behavior. And right now, it supports all major authentication methods, including LDAP, SAML, Smart Card, Client Cert, Okta, and Azure. And really how this works is it will use things like device location, such as being at home or on a corporate network, or our device posture, like the OS, the version of our OS, whether it has antivirus, or the user role where we have group memberships. We can add additional parameters or even prevent logon to the system based on these parameters, even when the user is authenticated. So using these contextual factors, adaptive authentication can intelligently choose how a user authenticates. And since the factors are continually assessed throughout the user session rather than just once, the authentication method delivers zero trust, strengthens your security, and supports your business scenarios all in one. Next, we have great enhancements to share about our Rendezvous protocol. And if you aren't familiar, in environments that use the Citrix Gateway service, the Rendezvous protocol allows traffic to bypass the Citrix Cloud Connector and communicate directly and securely with the Citrix DaaS control plane. Rendezvous v1 allowed this for HDX traffic, but still required cloud connectors to proxy all control traffic, like VDA registration and session brokering. But with the new enhancements in Rendezvous v2, it allows for that control traffic to bypass the cloud connectors as well, enabling a true connectorless solution and making it possible to support Azure AD joined and non-domain joined VDAs. So just to reiterate, admins leveraging Azure AD joined or non-domain joined workloads no longer have the requirement of deploying cloud connectors in these resource locations. This not only reduces complexity, but also reduces the time it takes to initially set up and deploy those workloads. And it can also potentially reduce overall cloud consumption, which means lower costs and less administrative burden. You might be wondering, can I use Rendezvous v2 with my traditional AD joined VDAs? And the answer is yes, you can, and you'll get to take advantage of the simplified deployment process. However, the cloud connectors are still required to integrate with your AD domains and on-prem hypervisors. Overall, really great to see the simplified requirements for using Rendezvous by reducing the reliance on cloud connectors and improving efficiency. So again, the connectorless deployments with Rendezvous v2 is now possible with Azure AD joined and non-domain joined machines. And we're providing that flexibility and want to ensure that you can leverage the machine identity platform that works best for you. So in addition to traditional Active Directory, we now support both of these configurations made possible with the enhanced protocol, and it's available for both Windows and Linux desktops. For example, now users can authenticate to Azure Active Directory and access workloads that are cloud or AD joined and supported on domain workloads in Azure. This is something that customers have been asking for a long time, and really excited to see this come to life.
We've also made a number of enhancements to Autoscale, which manages your cloud workloads to reduce costs. Just this past month, we've rolled out specific features targeted at giving IT more control over their deployments, including new flexibility over user alerting and session timeouts to enable shutdown of machines so that IT can nudge users to close applications voluntarily, all the way through forced shutdown policies that take effect after hours, so users who left their endpoint with apps or desktops still running can be logged off. And for customers looking at hybrid on-prem cloud deployments, we've now added new VM tags that offer additional flexibility in cloud burst scenarios. So you can take a particular application or desktop set, and as your on-prem hosting reaches its capacity limits, you can seamlessly burst those VMs to cloud hosts waiting for connections. And overall, this is an area I expect us to keep investing in over the next few quarters, as we've heard a lot of feedback from customers that Autoscale is saving them money, and we're always looking for ways to make your environments more efficient. Another way we can help reduce IT time and spending is through improved maintenance on our VDAs. The upcoming VDA Upgrade feature will make it easier for admins to upgrade a large catalog of VDAs installed on persistent VMs, which traditionally has been a very time-consuming task, even if SECM or custom scripts were involved. Using VDA Upgrade, admins will be able to automatically schedule a VDA install at a particular time using Web Studio. This can apply to your golden images, an individual machine, or an entire machine catalog. If you'd like to be among the first to try the feature out, you can reach out to our product manager, Fernando Clerfon, to sign up for the preview today. And as more of our customers move to cloud, we've put an increasing emphasis on our service continuity functionality, which creates a resilient environment that can withstand a number of communications or system failures while still allowing users to access their apps and desktops. With extended connection leases, users will be able to launch applications even when some cloud services are unreachable. You can think of this as the cloud version of local host cache, but in reality it's much more sophisticated and can persist that reliable user experience even in the face of multiple failures. In Q3, we now have full support in our Windows, Mac, and Linux clients, as well as Workspace for Web, and we have Chrome OS support in preview scheduled to GA later this year. We're seeing a steady increase in customers deploying service continuity in their environments with great success, and I'd really encourage everyone to check it out as part of their risk mitigation strategies. And now over to Heather to talk about some user-facing changes.
Great updates. Thanks, Adam. I know that Microsoft Teams has become a big collaboration and communication tool for many of us these days. So here at Citrix, we've been working as a team to ensure that there's feature parity within sessions with that of what your users experience in their native environments. The past few quarters, we introduced new optimizations that continue to empower our users to stay connected in their conversations. So first, users in Citrix sessions can now use multiple windows for chat and meetings from the main Microsoft Teams client. And we've also optimized Teams for give-take control, so VDI users can request or give control of the keyboard and mouse during their calls and meetings. We've also added the ability to share application windows in Linux, so screen sharing of specific apps is now available in the Linux VDA, requiring 2209 or higher and VDA 2109. And then also enabling things like live captions and meeting transcriptions for greater accessibility. Lastly, we have background blurring, which allows users to make their meetings more personalized and can help avoid unexpected distractions by applying a background image or blur. This does require Citrix Workspace app for Windows 2207 and higher and VDA 2112 or higher. And we're working on expanding support to other platforms soon. Additionally, a lot of work has gone into optimizing our Citrix HDX graphics stack so that our DaaS and VDI users can get the most high-definition experience possible. We've added support for 10-bit high dynamic range to our virtual desktop sessions, which allows you to use enhanced encoding and decoding capabilities to render high-quality images and videos with an extended range of colors, greater contrast and brightness, and customizable white luminance level. You can also customize the extended display identification data and visual quality to improve the user experience. So what this will look like is when you launch a Citrix session on a 10-bit HDR-enabled endpoint monitor, the HDR session will be enabled by default. And for multi-monitor HDR sessions, all the endpoint monitors will need to have 10-bit HDR enabled. And lastly, these sessions are supported in both windowed and full screen modes. I know this will be really important for some of our specific graphics use cases, such as medical imaging or 3D design applications, so I'm excited to see this roll out. And this is available in Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops 2209 and will require the Windows Workspace app 2209 or later. And for our Linux users, we're always working to add new features and functionality to our Linux VDA for improved performance and ease of use. So let's take a look at some of the things that we've done over the past few months to enhance our Linux offering. First and foremost, we're offering support for Ubuntu 2204, RHEL 8.6, and Rocky Linux 8.6 upon their rollouts. So now you can enjoy those capabilities, and also adding support for more authentication methods in non-SSO scenarios. So things like using username specific or smart cards. So definitely huge for individuals and industries using those items, and just gives more flexibility to those Linux VDAs. And then also things like file copy and paste is available for all Linux distributions now. So that's something we have to be mindful of, having things like Mate, Debian, Ubuntu, all of those, but now copy and paste is applicable across all distributions. We have also added things like the desktop environment quick switching enhancement to allow Linux desktop end users to switch to their personal and preferred desktop, so whichever one they like best. And then lastly, kernel-based virtual machine, or KVM, is the leading open source virtualization technology for Linux. So with the 2209 release, Linux VDA now offers support for KVM hypervisors. So again, a lot of Linux updates here, and if you're not leveraging Linux and you're thinking about it, this is a great opportunity to start expanding on it and maybe test it out along with the many great things Citrix supports with this.
As user work styles have changed, and we've seen an increase in flexible work policies and new users and applications coming online with Citrix, we've had increasing interest in our session recording capabilities, which let admins record and playback a user's behavior in real time. With the introduction of our cloud-hosted session recording service, admins can now record and playback sessions straight from DaaS Web Studio. That's going to simplify administration and make it easier to manage all of your Citrix properties from one location. This new service will have full backwards compatibility with playback of 1912 LTSR sessions to simplify transition, and brings new automation and archiving capabilities to help maximize storage. Admins can also define granular access controls to restrict who can see specific recordings, maintaining compliance and security policies. We're also adding similar granularity to traditional IT-managed on-prem session recording with a new restricted access grouping for especially sensitive recordings. We've also made some updates to Cloud Connectors, as well as the Connector Appliance offerings. Inside Cloud Connector, we've now added new health data inside the dashboard, so it's easier to tell if there's an issue with the services or load on the connector itself. This should help improve troubleshooting without leaving the connector dashboard. We're also allowing admins to specify the VDA communication port, as we've seen some security teams object to the use of port 80 here. And last but not least, on the Connector Appliance, we've enabled multi-forest Active Directory connections. This is a great example of how we're trying to offload services from the Windows-based cloud connectors and put them on the lighter weight Connector Appliance. You can expect us to continue this migration of capabilities over the next few quarters into these Connector Appliance services, helping you streamline your environment.
Also late last year, we announced a GA of Azure AD group-based administration for Citrix DaaS, and that allowed customers to manage access to the DaaS admin consoles based on their Azure AD group membership. So to build upon this, we made SAML AD back group support available for non-Azure AD customers. This allows organizations to manage access to the DaaS admin consoles based on AD group memberships. This leverages the existing SAML 2.0 connection in DaaS and supports more than 20 SAML providers, with some of them shown here on screen. And this is available for all DaaS control planes, including Gov and Japan. Switching gears to the app packaging side of things, I know this is something highly anticipated by some of our customers. And just as a background, previously DaaS admins could deliver packaged applications to endpoints through Microsoft AppV in both single and dual admin management methods. Now, in addition to AppV, we support the publishing of MSIX packages and MSIX packages mounted onto app-attached disks in Studio as well. And for those that may not be as familiar, MSIX is a new Microsoft packaging format that improves the packaging experience for all your Windows apps. And MSIX App Attach is an app layering technology for Azure Virtual Desktop as a solution to deliver MSIX applications to both your physical and virtual machines. So this is currently in public tech preview and is targeted to GA in Q4 and is available for all Citrix DaaS entitlements. I know these days IT teams have a lot to juggle in order to ensure quick resolution times and that users remain productive. So to help with some of their manual and time-consuming work, we have the Citrix ITSM adapter for ServiceNow. And that provides the ability to perform things like automate session resets and other common workflows that greatly reduce some of that manual and time-consuming labor. In our 22.9 September release, we've developed tighter integrations for the joint solution with ServiceNow to provide fast IT resolutions with advanced capabilities for our customers. The top row here shows new workflows that we've introduced, the first being automatic deprovisioning of idle static desktops. And this allows static desktops to be configured to automatically deprovision after being idle for a pre-configured number of days. Next, when the automatic approval of self-service app and desktop requests workflow is enabled and configured, the ITSM adapter service can automatically approve user requests for apps or desktops and add the users to their corresponding resource groups. Also, the custom workflow for handling employee separation is available to process scenarios of employee separation that can log outgoing employees off their launch sessions, deprovision their VDIs, and remove them from their associated resource groups. And lastly, we introduced a new data import policy that allows admins to import licensed information from Citrix DaaS directly to their ServiceNow instance, and enhanced policy settings that allow admins to better filter and process DaaS notifications. So, in short, if you're using ServiceNow and using apps and desktops from Citrix, we'd encourage you to take a look at the ITSM adapter service. I think you'll find it can seamlessly integrate with your workflows, freeing up time for your IT team to focus more on strategic initiatives. Keeping with the cloud theme, we also have an update with Citrix Monitor. We've now introduced advanced probe scheduling. And for background, the probe agent is a Windows executable that simulates and tests the actual desktop or app launch and reports the results back to Monitor. Previously, these tests could only be run one time at a fixed time slot. And now these probe tests can be configured to run on specific days of the week and be repeated at specific intervals during the day. So this gives admins greater flexibility and control over these simulated sessions and allows for proactive monitoring of their site health. It also simplifies the probe setup and management process in Monitor. Additionally, for On-Premises Director, customers with entitlements to Citrix Analytics for Performance will have the ability to access Session Timeline View from within the Director console. And this integration provides admins a historical view of session details and factors affecting performance across user sessions that can be leveraged for troubleshooting. Next, I wanted to note some updates around the Workspace app clients. So to enable your users to use or bring any device that they want to perform their work, you want to make sure they're not only secure, but also that they can support their productivity. So our client apps teams really work to make sure that our Workspace app clients are optimized for each type of device in each OS. Looking at the desktop apps platforms, for Windows, improved app and desktop launch experience is now in preview and is a more modern experience with app and desktop session launch that provides more information about the launch process. We also have the quick launch of disconnected desktops in preview. For Linux, we have keyboard input mode enhancements and support for authentication using FIDO2 in preview, and also support for app sharing and high DPI support in Microsoft Teams. And with Mac, we have native support for Apple's Silicon M1 chip in preview, and we've gone GA with a new quick access menu on the Mac menu bar. Next, for Workspace app for Android, we're offering Day 0 support for Android 13, and now offer extended multi-monitor support with Samsung DeX devices. And for iOS, we have Day 0 support for iOS 16, and now have support for Thursby and Phaeton readers for smart card-based authentication. And lastly, for Chrome OS and HTML5, service continuity is in tech preview for Chrome OS, and we have generic client IME support for East Asian languages. And we've also added optimizations for Microsoft Teams and multi-monitor for HTML5. So as you can tell, a lot of really exciting things in the works across every single one of our platforms, and I invite you to try them out.
Thanks, Heather. And on the client side, we continue to enhance our app protection policies, which offer enhanced security and IP protection for endpoints, with two new tech preview enhancements. The first is anti-code injection. So in this scenario, if an untrusted DLL module is injected during a session by a malicious attacker, the Citrix Workspace app detects it and stops the module from loading, or stops the session from launching, protecting against a compromised endpoint. And we've got another update as well for our customers with Windows 11. We now have enhanced protection for web and SaaS apps delivered through the Citrix Enterprise Browser, so that our anti-screen capture performance stays consistent and seamless for those Win 11 users. So real wins all around in that experience and performance. And as you roll out app protection policies, now our StoreFront admins have the ability to leverage contextual app protection policies for their users. This allows you to apply controls for a specific set of users based on session information like internal or external access, the client device operating system, whether it's a trusted or untrusted device, or a user's Active Directory group membership. So a great way to streamline how you're rolling out this capability.
Thanks, Adam. And as I mentioned earlier, the Citrix Workspace browser is now the Citrix Enterprise Browser. And along with the product name change, we've also introduced some new features that are now available with the Citrix Workspace app for Windows and Mac 22.10 release. The first being access all web and SaaS apps via the Enterprise Browser. And like it says, it really allows you to launch all your web and SaaS apps solely through the Enterprise Browser and removes the need for users to navigate between browsers, giving that predictable experience when accessing those applications. Additionally, we have browser management through the Global App Configuration Service in preview. And what this is it gives admins control over browser level settings, even on their unmanaged devices. So settings like allowing users to save passwords, allowing incognito mode, pushing managed desktops, and much more. And one of those policies is extension management in preview. And that allows admins to push a list of extensions to end users. So admins can decide whether they want to make a list of allowed extensions available to the end user or make specific extensions required and already installed in the browser for that user. And lastly, you can leverage Citrix Enterprise Browser as a work browser, which is also in preview. So with this feature, you can now select Citrix Enterprise Browser as your work browser, meaning that any link from the native app that is defined as a work link to open through the Enterprise Browser. And a work link is any link that is part of the list of apps configured by the admin via secure private access. So really great additions on the Enterprise Browser front. And speaking of the Global App Configuration Service, we now have a public tech preview of the new admin user interface for IT admins to leverage. Again, the Global App Configuration Service is a service we provide that really allows you to centrally configure settings and policies without having to have a domain membership or really touch every single client, which can take a lot of labor and be really time consuming. So using this, you'll be able to quickly deliver settings no matter the client device type and manage them in the future. and you can already access this service through APIs. However, we also receive feedback from customers who would prefer a simple user interface to access this, and that's exactly what we did. So as you can see in the video on screen, we now have this great looking admin user interface for the global app configuration service to access in Citrix DaaS, and this is in public tech preview. You can leverage it today and highly recommend you go ahead and check that out.
We're also investing heavily in our Workspace Environment Management technology, or WEM for short. WEM is a collection of technologies that improves not just user performance, but also user density on servers, plus group policy and admin scripting enhancements to make your life easier in maintaining your environment. If you're not using WEM today, you're probably overspending in cloud, and the new WEM home inside the web console gives you a quick and easy view of all of its capabilities. The built-in overview is going to show you a snapshot of your WEM agents and a rolling VDA health report. And by using quick access inside WEM, you can optimize your resources, profiles, or assign policies directly from this console, and toggle on or off new features as they become available. And along with this new view, we rolled out nearly a dozen changes and improvements to WEM in just this last quarter. So be sure to drop in often and make sure you're taking advantage of all of our optimizations, from simplified agent rollouts to improved GPO handling, which are all targeted at getting you up and running quickly and saving resource consumption along the way.
And looks like that concludes our feature updates. Thanks, Adam. So as we round out here, these are the resources and links that we talked about today. We should be dropping this, if we haven't already, in chat for you to have and take with you so that everything we talked about today can be really easily accessible.